let me get a couple things set up here, and then we can begin the stream and begin the day. All right, looks like everything looks good. Let's go ahead and switch over. And first and foremost, happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy whatever it is you support or celebrate. And with that said, today we're going to be taking a look at what's new in the December recently released update for Lightroom Classic CC and Lightroom CC. So we're going to start with Lightroom Classic CC, check out the new features there, and tweaks and updates and things that have been added, as well as a few new things in Lightroom CC as well. The team tries to do their best to come out with regular updates that either fix things, improve performance, or give you new features. So sometimes you get all three, sometimes you just get bug fixes, sometimes you just get a new feature, sometimes you get, two of the three. So it just depends on the update and what is ready. But rather than hold things back, they release things as they're ready, which is the whole premise behind Creative Cloud. So Dana Pride, thanks for joining. Victoria, Nicole, Jim, thanks everybody for being here. And Colleen, good to see you again from Cape Town. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and switch over to the computer so you guys can see what I'm doing. I've got Lightroom Classic CC open right now, and one of the first things I'm going to show you is one of my two favorite new features in this update. There's more new features, but two of them are favorites. The first one, and this has been a long time coming, this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, that is when you're in the Develop module, and if you select a photo, that might help, but when you're in the Develop module has always been in a specific order: basic, tone curve, HSL and color, split toning, detail, so forth and so on. Well, some of those I don't use as often as I use others. Like I use lens correction all the time, and it's a pain in the butt when I have to scroll down to it. So I solo this panel, or work in solo mode, so that it only shows me one at a time. So in other words, if I open up basic and then go to lens corrections, basic closes and lens correction opens up. And that's because I don't want to have them all open and have to keep scrolling up and down to get to the one that I want. So now I might be able to turn solo mode off because, first new feature, when I right click, I can customize the Develop panel. So this is brand new as of this update. Hey, Jamie Feldman, what's up? When I customize the Develop panel, this gives me the ability to do two things. One, if there's something you just never use, like if you never use calibration or you never use split toning, you can turn it off and just not have it be there at all. I don't turn them off because you never know when I might use it. But more importantly, I can move them finally in the order that I want. So I want lens corrections right up there under basic. I want detail, as a matter of fact, even before lens corrections. And I want transform after lens corrections. So I want those things. Oh, and effects. I don't use effects as much now that they moved dehaze into the basic panel, but it's just great being able to put these in the order that I want them in, not the default order. And if you ever want to go back to the default order, maybe you're taking a class, maybe you're learning from a video and you need them in the order you need, that they came in, you can always come back to this and click default order. So when I hit save, it's going to say, hey, in order for this to happen, we're going to need to relaunch Lightroom because we're going to do something, and I'm going to go ahead and let it relaunch. This is Lightroom CC in the background, so we'll let it relaunch. I see it relaunching on my other display. For whatever reason, it relaunched on the other display, so let's pull it over. And now the panels are in the order that I told them to be in. So the basic panel's there, the detail panel, which I use, is right underneath it. The lens correction panel that I use is right underneath it, so I can enable lens profile corrections. I can do all of those things in the order maybe that your workflow is in or that you work in. So that's feature number one. That's my favorite. Now, I'll get to my second favorite in a minute. So the next one is kind of a take upon the tethering feature. So there's two ways to bring images into Lightroom as you shoot or automatically. One is to just use tether. So if you use tether, that will allow you to connect your camera up, and there's a brand new Canon tether that's built in. That's faster, better, easier tethering for Canon cameras. Don't worry, there are other camera manufacturers in the works. But anyway, when you start a tether capture, one of the things that was added a while ago is that you could, as those images come in, you could add them to a collection, which I love that feature, use it all the time. However, if your camera isn't one of those supported tether, plug it in and just use it cameras, then what you might be using is the software that came with your camera, so that as you shoot, images are dropped into a folder on your hard drive. Then you can bring them into Lightroom via auto import. Well, auto import's not new, but what is new in auto import is the ability to also add them to a collection as they come in. So this is where you would specify what folder for Lightroom to watch as new images come in, what folder to move them to, and what collection to add them to. So you can have them added to a collection, which is great because that collection could be synced to the cloud, so that someone watching remotely could be looking at their iPad or their computer as the images come in, as you're taking them or adding them to that collection and seeing them. So just the ability to add to a collection via auto import, just like you do on tethering and just like you do on regular import, is now, I guess, completing the spectrum of adding to a collection. All right, so yes, I'm glad you caught one of my live streams as well, and hello, Jerry Brooks from Missouri. All right, so next up, this is for people that work with the book module. So let me go back to my grid. I'm gonna go ahead and just click on book. Now book will do a default layout. So if I were to, here, what do I wanna do? I wanna go to this. If I were to show you the layout here, it would show you that it's automatically imported one of each picture on my film roll to a page in the book. And of course, you can redesign the book. You can say have multiple pictures on the same page. Don't leave the left page blank, so forth and so on. But by default, if you don't change anything, the auto layout will do this. Now, what's new is that if I go to, let's say, page 2 here, and I'm going to switch page 2 to maybe a different layout, maybe that with one photo on it. Now, of course, you've always been able to resize that one photo. You've always been able to move that one photo around. That's great. And you've also had the ability to have a grid. So I'm going to say display the page grid. But what you didn't have is that if you were trying to align things up in your own custom book page, you didn't have an easy way to align it. Like you couldn't pull out a guide like you do in the desktop publishing software like InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop. But now what you can do, let's go ahead and add another photo cell. And I want these to kind of align. What I can do is I can say align to the grid. So as I'm moving my cells around, they snap to that grid that I turned on. And so that if I'm trying to align things and get them in a specific way, I can, and it will snap and my book will be beautiful because everything will be lined up. Nothing would be more distracting than having your photos like 3 in a row and they're kind of not lined up on the same left or right edge. So great that we can do this. And of course you can do it vertically or horizontally. So if I add another cell for a photo here, and maybe I want that photo to be at the top and maybe I want that photo to be wider. And I love how it's just snapping to the grid as I do this. So we can go ahead and pull this one down, snap that one to the grid, move this one over, snap that to the grid. And now it's ready. I can just go ahead and drag and drop photos into their respective places. And it will just do its thing. And books are very cool. One of my favorite features in Lightroom. I should do more books because I don't have enough books. I need more books. Actually, my portfolio is a Lightroom book. And it's sorely out of date. So I need to update my book for my portfolio with some of my later images. And now I've got the ability to go in and align custom pages by the grid. Okay, so next new feature is actually a performance feature. So we can never make Lightroom fast enough because Lightroom people always want it faster, but we keep working on it, keep trying to make it faster, faster, faster. And so now I'm reading the spec here. You'll have faster grid scrolling when you're scrolling the grid of photos. 5 times faster switching between the develop and library modules on a 4K or 5K display. So apparently that was slower than it should have been. and they've got that updated to be faster when you're switching between those two modules, which we switch between library and develop all the time, all day long, back and forth. So now that's faster on 4K and 5K displays. All right, so I'm going to tell you now my second favorite feature, and it's a little one, but it's one I almost said bad words. It's one that's been not my favorite until now, and that is I accidentally, on a regular basis, usually once per day, hit Command W by mistake, which is close window. And maybe I'm in a photo in full screen, or maybe I'm in a photo like this, and I really meant to hit G to go back to the grid, but I hit Command W instinctively because I'm thinking close the photo. And what that would have done before is, without warning, it would quit Lightroom. So in other words, I hit Command W. Oh, you want to close your catalog? No problem. I'm going to close your catalog, and I'm going to close the application as well. And I'd have to go launch it, go back to where I was, and that used to tick me off more than anything. So now when I accidentally click the window or click the red dot or hit Command W, I get a warning. Do you really want to quit? In other words, it might as well say, did you really mean to hit Command W? And the answer is usually no. And I can say, no, cancel, don't quit. For people that would look at me and say, well, that's stupid, I never do that. That never happens to me. Then you can never show this again. So it would only come up for you once. You click that box, and then you can quit every time without ever being prompted not to quit. So it's basically perfect for both scenarios. For people that this does happen to, you get the warning, you get to cancel out of it every time. For people that it never happens to, or you don't like that warning, you can say never display again, and it will never display it again. All right, so those are the new things in the December update for Lightroom Classic CC. Let's switch over to Lightroom CC. So Lightroom CC, the newer version of Lightroom, the cloud-based version of Lightroom, the Lightroom that's easier to use than Classic, but doesn't have as many features. Here it is, and what's new here? So a couple things. Number one, and this is kind of stealing a feature that Lightroom Classic has already had. And Dana Pride, I'm glad you confirmed that yes, you do that too, as far as closing by mistake. So I've got a test album down here. It's called Test Web Gallery. And let's see if you can see it behind me. You probably can't. All right, let me move this window over so you can see it. So here it is. Test Web Gallery is a gallery that's, or an album that I created just as a test. All right, so what I'm going to do with that album, here, let me make it so you can see it. I'll bring it up higher. All right, so what I'm going to do with that album is I'm going to right-click on it and do something that I do all the time in Classic, and that is set it as a target album. So you can have in Lightroom Classic, you can have one collection that's your target collection. And in Lightroom CC, you can now have one album that's your target album. So same concept. When you do that, it could be any album you want. I'm doing it on this test. When you do that, it says press T to add to this gallery. So what this is for is, let's say you're building a family reunion album and you want to put pictures that you've taken throughout the years of your family that could be interspersed in all kinds of albums that you have there. You want to quickly get them in there without having to find the album, click the photo, drag it over. So that's what we're trying to eliminate. So for example, if I go to my demo folder here and I go to the 7 Things album and I want to get some of my favorite landscapes, I can hit the letter T and it adds that one to that album. So I didn't have to find it. It doesn't have to be visible. I don't have to drag it down. I can just hit the letter T. So same thing here. I want that one in there. I want that one in there. So I can just go through and find my favorite photos. Here's one from Hong Kong that I took. Put that one in there. Of course, from Paris. Put that one in there. Here's the Louvre. Put that one in there. Here's some photos from Iceland. I saw one up there earlier. Put that one in there. So I can just go through and click on a photo and hit the letter T for any photos that I want to add to that album. Of course, my favorite ones from Egypt. Let's put those in there. And then when I go back to that album, all those photos are there. So that is target album. So it's just basically setting any album you want as a target, and then adding photos to that album from wherever they are just by hitting the letter T. Now, of course, albums work just like collections for those of you who are classic users. So that means that that new warning is my favorite. Yeah, Jamie, mine too. So anyway, back to the target is that you can now just build an album with photos no matter where they are. The photos are not duplicated, just like they're not duplicated in a collection. They can be in multiple albums. They can be in multiple collections. They don't take up any extra space by doing this. It's just an organizational tip. Now, here's a bonus tip to undo it. Of course, you can just delete it from the album. You can just hit delete, but you can also hit, I tried this just to see what it would do, Shift T, and Shift T, oh, did it do it? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to the one I had selected. Shift T, oh, it's not doing it now. But anyway, oh, maybe it's because, hang on, maybe it's Option T. Well, anyway, Shift T earlier as a bonus tip was removing it from the album for me. But anyway, if that's not working, just simply hit delete and you can remove the photo. It won't be deleted. You'll still find it in all photos. You're just removing it from that album. But Shift T was working earlier. I'm not sure why it's not working now, but whatever. It's there. All right, so next one. When you share an album, so let's share this one now. We were already sharing it, so let's stop sharing it and then share it again. Share it to the web. You've got some new capabilities here. This will create a link to this album that you can give out to anyone. You can turn on allow downloads, turn on show metadata, or turn on show location data if you want. So one of the other things is, let's say you have hundreds of photos in the album, but you only really want to share your best ones. So you can say, well, I don't want to have to create a new album just to share it. I just want to share that same album, but only my favorites or my best or the picks. So I can go in and I can say, only show the ones that are picks. So I'm sharing that album, but what people will only see are the picked ones. So I can say, or show the ones that are only 5 stars. And that way I can still have everything in that album that I want, but I'm only showing my favorites or the best, and any that I go and mark as a pick or a 5 or 4 star, whatever, after the fact will automatically be shared. So that way I don't have to unshare it, reshare it, create a new album, or do any of that. It just lets me do it. All right. Last but not least, in Lightroom CC, I'm going to go ahead and continue that. And last but not least in Lightroom CC is that we've got the ability, or we got some performance enhancements here as well. So importing should be faster. So importing can never be fast enough. So when you're importing from a memory card, it should be much faster now in CC. And last but not least, on the phone, so if you're using Android or iOS for Lightroom, there's some sharing enhancements there as well. There's the ability now to share specific photos, like you just hit select, share this, 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 and this as a web gallery without having to make them into an album. So there are lots of little things in sharing on the mobile devices as well. And with that said, that is it. That is all that I have for you today. So let me quickly go back through the comments while we got like 1 minute left. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Hello, lots of hellos, lots of shout outs. No questions that I'm missing that I can see. Okay, so there's one. So the question is kind of worded differently. So I do not have to change size when importing to Facebook to not lose quality. So I'm assuming what you're saying is, do you have to change the size, or what size should you use when you're saving to Facebook? So let's just say it that way. Facebook is probably, of all social media, one of the worst when it comes to compressing your photo and making your photo look bad. So you'll have a beautiful photo, you'll save it out even high res, you'll export it, or you'll export it out, you'll post it on Facebook, and you're like, why does it look so bad? Why does it look so compressed? Because when you have billions of users who are posting literally probably billions of photos. You don't have enough storage to go around, so you basically compress the heck out of everyone's photos. So there's not really a whole lot you can do in the case of Photoshop. I'm sorry, in the case of Facebook, I was thinking Photoshop because I saw PSD. There's one thing you can do though, and that is a JPEG is compressed already, and Facebook's going to compress it again, which is going to make it smaller. So you might upload the photo as a ping.png, portable network graphics, for those of you who want to know. .png doesn't get compressed as much. So a PNG file might look better on Facebook than the JPEG. So there's not a whole lot you can do because it's just the nature of the way Facebook compresses everything. All right, with that said, Nicole says, great tips. You're welcome. And with that, I am out. Can it be shared to Instagram? Can what be shared to Instagram? Yes, your photos can be shared to Instagram. Not directly from the desktop, but on the mobile, on the iOS app or the Android app, you can share directly to Instagram. Next question I saw, and this is the last one. Can CC do batch edits? Actually, two. So number one, can CC do batch edits? Yes, it can, but it does them via copy paste. So for example, I think I've got some here. So yeah, these photos are all taken at the same time. So let's say I develop one of these really quickly. And we're just going to make a drastic change just so we can see it. So we make it blue. Okay, that's not really what I would want to do to that photo, but let's say we do it. Then we go back out. We can copy what we did to it. Under edit, copy. And then for the batch that we want to do, so the 4 that I selected or the 400 that I selected, I can go up to edit and paste. And that will paste the edits to those photos, so now they all turn blue. And of course, that's non-destructive. I can go back and turn that off, which I will after the stream is over. And the other question I saw was before that one. So when will we see wireless tethering? I don't know. Some point, maybe, maybe not. I can't commit to features that aren't announced. So with that said, happy holidays, everyone. Cheers, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.